Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Mosaic Arts Online live event. This is the 44th annual Ruin Tour here with Rachel Sager. I am so excited to be back here sharing more of what Rachel has in store for us today. It's become a really special event to bring Rachel on as she will narrate about 40 minutes of her walking through the ruins, sharing with us some of her latest installations with different artists that have donated their time, their energy, their talent, their everything into having these very special pieces hung on the walls of the ruins. And if you're unfamiliar with the ruins and what it is, in 2015, Rachel bought a house in Whitsett, Pennsylvania, a really cute house. We haven't been there, and it has an art studio as well, which is also gorgeous. But little did she know that she also bought Banning Number 2, the abandoned coal mine. And it's the office that's pretty much what she'll talk about. That is where the walls of the rooms are now, and what was hanging there, and this living legacy. But it's really a special, special place. So if you have not been there, I highly recommend getting there. But if you can't get there, today is a special day because Rachel is going to share with us some of these latest installations that have happened since last year. And if you haven't seen our other three live events of the Ruins Tour from 20, 21, and 22, we highly recommend you binge that before you get back on your Netflix shows. So without further ado, I would love to introduce my good friend, Rachel Sager.
Thank you, Tami. I'm so excited to start this always imperfect, but usually exciting annual tour. Just checking. Are we good with the feedback? We don't have feedback or anything? I'm going to wait until we get to the right place.
All right. So,
are we good, Tami?
It's looping. What do you have a window open in YouTube?
Okay, now it's stopping. We're good.
Okay.
So now we are going to bring on the Ruins Tour. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Technical difficulties are normal. There we go. All right, we're getting started. Everybody can hear me, I hope. I want to start by just saying welcome, and also I have always been an amateur videographer, and each of these videos is very quirky and imperfect in its own way. I think the strength of it lies in the live narration that I'm doing. I do want to give a shout out to Anita Hardish, the Ruins documentarian, who has been putting together wonderful footage for years of the ruins. And she actually helped me with a couple of these clips. So you might be able to tell the difference between her clips and mine. But Luce will be making a few appearances as we go. When I first came up with the rule number 2 at the ruins, building relationships, what I meant was to invite the artists to build relationships with the earth, to look at the ground at their feet and figure out creative ways to turn raw stone into tessera, to slow down and really look, to get lost in the cracking open part, the splitting of a piece of geology that has been rolling around in a river or an ocean for millions of years. Relationships take time. They aren't built by clicking the buy button or filling up shopping carts or spending money. Time and intention and observation are the ingredients. This year, we have celebrated successful collaborations. We've welcomed newcomers. Oops, looks like we might have, I might have lost my, I'm going to keep talking, I think. Oh, it went back to the beginning. Well, hopefully, oh, there we go. We're back where we were. Laid the groundwork for the future, and we have yet unveiled projects in the wings. This is Kathleen Duty's Threshold, which is a very important metaphor that we've celebrated for a few years now. And then we're going to pan up here to the Patch House project, which many of you saw last year in last year's video. A great example of a very ambitious collaboration that involves over 100 artists, but was spearheaded by myself, Deb Engelbaugh, and Linda Rosenblum. There's a lot of math, a lot of measuring, a lot of planning behind the scenes. A great example of three artists building relationships together and then opening up that relationship to the world and bringing all of these voices into the ruins. And then we're panning over to the very familiar at this point portraits, the original portraits. Margie Cottingham's Anonymous Miner. Margie is in her Wisconsin studio as we speak, working on the Violet Johnson portrait, who is Clarence Johnson's mother and one of the Witsit matriarchs, a mother of 14 and a widow of the coal mines. Some of you may remember Clarence from one of the Ruins podcasts. So that will be something that will be unveiled probably in 2023. That's my father. A lot of you know Jeffrey Luce Sager by Donna Van Hooser. William Henry Mills. This relationship, Joy Parker from Scotland, has created this amazing connection with the Mills family. And I know that someday she will get here and have a reunion with his descendants. I don't always get the time to talk about the miner and the frog story, but Marion, that's Marion's little frog that has become a part of the story. Relationships happening on the walls here between artists. And there's another way to describe their relationships here that I think maybe the best way to describe it is the ruins itself connecting to people who don't even know their importance here. The schools of Ravenna and Spilimbergo, artists like Verdiano Marzi, Giulio Manassi, Luciano Naturney, Dougald McInnes, Coco Mosaico, Dino Maccini. So many of the working artists of the ruins have learned from these masters, and that's in no way an exhaustive list, just a sampling of the teachers around the world whose voices reverberate here even without their knowledge. And then there are the factories, the hot smalty factories of Orsoni, Dona, Mervi, Prodoma, the Yakagani glass factory right down the road. The vibe of the ruins is so much about time, and smalty is the mosaic material that seems to have the closest relationship with time, outside of real geology, of course. Its mysterious recipes of sand and oxides and ash create the beautifully imperfect surfaces that capture the light. We are unabashedly obsessed with smalty. Tami, could you pause for just a second? I don't know if we can do that.
We are. It's a little delayed from what I do to what you see, but are you there?
Okay. Well, maybe wait until I pan back across this red dog, like right here. There you go. That's good enough because we all just looked at that. The Red Dog Challenge is such a great example of building relationships here. And it goes right back to rule number 2, which is building relationships with raw material. You know, so all of the artists who say yes to the Red Dog Challenge, we have Lindsay Packingham's Hammer, we have Lynn Adamo's River, Julie Chrisman's Fire, Spring Dimmerling's Mandala, Kelly Knickerbocker's Spiral, and now Anne Walker's Mask on the far left, which I think you just got a close-up of. That was the mask that wanted to be something else, but insisted on becoming a mask. And she has a great story about how she had to just end up listening to the Red Dog because it insisted on doing what it wanted to do, which we all know. Anyone who's worked with Red Dog understands that. And now people are interpreting that what she sees as a mask as the face of a dirty coal miner, which a lot of the the children and grandchildren have memories of their fathers coming home from a day in the mines and their faces being blackened by the coal soot. So, this is a very much the Red Dog Challenge is a living wall that is in process. And, we're always looking for the next piece of Red Dog to invite the next artist in. And a lot of these artists, or most of these artists here that you're looking at, have never met each other. And may never meet each other. Maybe they will, you never know, but they're connected through the Red Dog itself. So there's a lot of poetry going on there. Okay, we can press play again. Then there are the people who are gone, but our collective memories are keeping them alive. Steve Gwynn, a Pittsburgh businessman who had a huge influence on my fledgling artist self and helped the ruins be born in its very early years. The Wandering Wall, which we'll see towards the end, is being built in his honor. Bill Buckingham never got to learn about the ruins, but his mentorships shaped many ruins artists in the community, and I like to think that his friendly ghost walks through these rooms. This little corner right here that I'm focusing on looks kind of like nothing. It looks just like a brick wall, but I see that as a relationship in the making because there's a 3-sided wall that faces the fan house opening, and it's been full of broken bottles and garbage. It's just been a dump since the day I got here, and I have a fantasy that we will have a work program maybe this fall, clean it up and build a beautiful bench for meditation. All right, so you're all very familiar with Steve-O's Great Train. This is one of my favorite approaches or lines of sight at the ruins, looking down the train towards the trees and the birds at the end. And as we approach a focal point that we're gonna, it's gonna take me a few minutes to get to, I just wanna introduce something that has been a theme for me for many years. And the two women that helped with the quilts, Deb and Linda, have also helped plan the Ruins Ven, which is some more poetry for me. It's set towards the end of the tour, so it's one of the last things you see. And a Venn diagram is 2 or 3 circles overlapping each other that explain an idea or more, several ideas. And I actually teach a class on it called the Intuitive Venn, but this is like the Venn to end all Venns. And as we're leading up to it, I'll just explain that it's a giant color study for one circle, which is almost finished now. You're going to see it right about now. I think it's going to pan to the left, but it's just a big pile of color right to the left of the tiny ring wall. And it's, it's, oh my gosh, it's a circle. The tiny rings are circles of color. And you can see the little outline of the second circle drawn, and that is the coal miner's circle. So the liminal space is the space in between, which is where the 2 circles have something in common. So that space will be the Ruins Project. So it's 3 ideas: artists, coal miners, and the place that is the ruins. This was a huge project. It took us over a year from inception to installation. Hundreds of these 3-inch circles, squares of color. We all went to color school, the 3 of us. We fought, we loved each other. We had lots of different ideas of what purple blue and blue purple actually are. When you get that specific and you're trying to make a color wheel, it gets extremely complicated, and I'm very proud of how it turns out. We're going to have another little video of that also later in the video. So now here we are to the boots. Oh my goodness, Helga Maribel Sanchez. These are Helga Maribel Sanchez is a rare bird. I don't think she would mind me calling her a bird. She talks to birds. But the boots were her idea from the beginning. She's been talking about them for over a year now. We have 2 conversations going on here. We have a soldier's boot and we have a coal miner's boot built from scratch. I know she used Paltaya. She built the outsides with shale and coal. Each boot has what could be called an explosion in it. This is the explosion for the soldier's boot, which could represent an IED. You know, the soldier and the miner, especially during this time period from 1900 to 1946, were very similar kinds of men. They often did both of those jobs in a lifetime. Some coal miners dropped their shovels and went across the ocean to fight the war, and then they came back and they picked their shovels back up again. So it's hard to imagine in this day today of doing both of those jobs. And this is Erica Johnson, the Ruins Fairy, being our wonderful Vanna White, and showing you the inside of the boots, because it's not just about the outside. Maribel has created two masterpieces of ondamento and storytelling that I have found. I mean, these are in the Memorial Chapel, and this is where people cry, truly, when they look into these boots and see the love and the care and the mastery of the medium that this artist has. I remember when she came up with the, when she presented me with the idea for the boots, we were standing at the threshold on the pebble mosaic of the threshold, and she said, "Rachel, I want to make boots." And I had, I love the idea, because when we're at the threshold, we talk about putting yourself into another man's boots or into the boots of a miner. This close up here is the Youghiogheny River. You can see with the blue, and this is the coal miner's boot. She told us that the soldier's boot. Oh, now let me see. I want to make sure I get this right. The soldier's boot took her a week. She knew exactly what she wanted to say. She knew how to say it. She comes from a military family. That language just came right to her. But the miner's boot took 4 months, and she couldn't even finish it. She brought it in her suitcase. We took the suitcase across the bridge. That's a memory. And she didn't finish it until she was here this summer. She sat at the picnic table in the great map room and quietly spent 2 days putting the finishing touches. There's also an ondamento that she, I think, created herself during that time, those last 2 days. She calls it the left, right, left cadence of the coal miner. Left, right, left. And the explosion on the miner's boot, of course, speaks to the methane explosions that were so common during that time period. The Dar mine explosion happened 1.5 miles down the trail from right where these boots are today, and it took out generations of men. You have been seeing the Jeffrey L. Sager Memorial Bridge. In memory of my father, these people, there's so many people people's names on the bridge. They are not all artists, but this has been a way for the non-artists to contribute and have their voices become a part of the story. My father, Jeffrey Lou Sager, my grandfather, Harold Leroy Sager, and my great-grandfather, Jacob Leroy Sager. My family comes from coal. Their relationships with the bituminous rock of the Freeport and Connellsville coal seams built my family. And we, all of us, have been bringing these men and their families back to life. Many of us through listening to their resurrected stories, others by telling and bringing the bringing of the stories from their own family history, and most definitely by building their portraits in stone and glass. You might see some familiar names here. And as we continue across the bridge to the front door, we're going to come to the very updated wall of names, which I'm very excited about. I have been really, really behind on the name making for ever since the quilts arrived. I lost control of how many artists we had. So let's cross the bridge and come up to the wall of names. This is actually a good time to bring up Erica Johnson, who is the tour director here, in addition to many other jobs. Red Dog Collector, Ruins Ferry. She wears a lot of hats. But one of the relationships that I love watching is her interaction with her visitors. She ushers them across this bridge, and she asks them where they come from. So one of the questions we ask is, do you come from Cole? Do you have artists? Are you an artist? Do you have an artist in your family? How can we connect you to this place somehow? And I have to say that she finds ways to make connections with people who don't think that they have connections. It's quite a gift. And we're very lucky to have her leading people through, because that is the only way to experience the ruins in this year, 2023. So far, that is the way in. That is, we do not have access without commitment. That's my new line that I like using. No access without commitment. So you have to commit something, and sometimes that's just your time and your $25 fee to take the tour. There are some serious heavy hitters on this list of names. These are all the new ones that I put. Many are quilt artists, but many are also bird artists, gear artists. They're from all over the world, and they are still just about 98% female, which is, there's a lot of women here, and are telling this very masculine story with these very feminine voices. And that never gets old, saying that. I see these artists that you're reading right now as risk takers. They are putting their time and their very hard work, let's just say hard work and talent, into beautiful things or important things that they're saying, and then they give it away. I don't consider them giving it to me. I don't think that's what's happening. They are giving it to the ruins, which means they are giving it to the story. So they're becoming a part of the story, and that's not. It's not just me saying that. That's actually really happening. I think that's why I wanted to use the building relationships theme for this year's tour, because it's the ruins is really coming into its power, I believe, and it's marinated. The people have marinated, the art has marinated, and look at these beautiful names. These are the originals. There's a few new ones popped into the original names, and then we're gonna see a few men up here in a minute. We have men working here. They're not that many men Mosaic artists, but they have made very important contributions, and you'll hear about that in a minute. But let's see. I'm just looking at my notes. There's no way that I can remember to say everything that I want to say in these tours. It's just impossible. So I do have notes. Dave Swanevec, Matthew Sager, Brandon Blair, Byron, Kevin, Jerry, Carlene Prater, who is documenting the quilt project for us. Those men are the machinists and the hole diggers and the engineers. This is John Angelone's stained glass window, which Byron and Kevin hung. And I just love that. I love that right there with the tree right in front of it and the names behind it. And I always like to have some sky there. So this bifurcated fox by Roberta Toby Gertz didn't make sense for a while. We made the animals before the tree was here because we knew the tree was coming. This is a black walnut painted by Beverly Nicolai. And when we first placed the nuthatch, it's Leon's nuthatch, and the chipmunk, we didn't really have a tree. We just knew that it was coming. And I love that too. The painted trees of the ruins are becoming more important all the time. We're starting to identify which trees we want. We don't just want a walnut tree. We want a black walnut tree that grows here in Pennsylvania. We want, the almost extinct chestnut tree, the almost extinct ash. We're living through all kinds of big changes here in Pennsylvania with our landscapes, and we want to capture that. Yelenia Roma, the Ravenna-based artist. I don't have my notes on me right now, but she also made the young raccoon. I just wanted to give you a really close-up of this little chipmunk. Look at those ears. You can almost pet those ears. And I believe we're going to pan back over to the Ven from here. Yes. So you see that line of sight. You can see the color from this angle. I just keep looking at it. Really, I just keep looking at it. We're going to be starting the second circle for to represent the coal miners, which will be completely different than the circle that represents the artists, as is appropriate. There are very different kinds of people. We tapped into all three of our Smalty libraries to make this circle happen, and it stretched our abilities. We have a very contentious relationship with purple. We ran out of purple. We did not have enough purple, never had enough purple, and we were very lucky that it was actually on the liminal side of the circle, so we didn't need as much. But I learned, the different. I mean, I'm self-taught. I didn't go to art school, so I had to be taught what the difference between a shade and a tint were. Truly, I did. I had to be taught, and I learned. I know now. But you see the mixture. Oh, I just love the layers of organic, the way that colors change. This is Deb Engelbaugh's flag looking up at a new arrival. This is Honor the Eagle by Barb Goff, a Colorado artist. And, the relationship that I want to talk about for this is actually between Barb and Honor the Eagle. She showed up here a while back, and she identified that we needed an eagle, which we did. And the eagle is one of the most important birds of the Feather Project. As all over North America, we almost lost it. It was almost a complete tragedy. The DDT making the eggshells so thin that they couldn't hatch their eggs. I know when I was a child in the 70s, nobody saw eagles. It just didn't happen. And now, Robert's out on the river right now fishing, and he will probably come home and tell me how many eagles he saw, because he sees them almost every day. And that is, if you don't want to, I just thought of the term that I use when I'm writing on my Substack about unearthing optimism. That is optimism right there. And I know that Barb had a spiritual experience building this from scratch with an arm. She built her own armature. She worked in Paltaya. I think through this sculpture, a lot of the Mosaic world is going to discover that amazing material of Paltaya. So we've kind of looked at this already, but I want to make a point about another relationship here. This little blue sky, this window of blue sky by Tracy Hodson. I asked for a window for the warhorse. This is Helen Knox warhorse. So many of the horses and mules and pit ponies worked in complete darkness their whole lives, and they didn't get to see that beautiful blue sky. So that's a permanent blue sky for our permanent warhorse. We're back to the Red Dog Challenge. We have two of these. All Red Dog is not equal. There's some gray up there in Kelly Knickerbocker's piece. There's a lot of black in Anne's mask. Lynn Adamo tells me a funny story of making her river. That she received her giant piece of Red Dog in the mail. This is it right here. And she was so excited to open it up and see all the black on the inside, because that's what we call choice Red Dog. And hers only had the white and the yellow on the inside. And so she had to work with what she had, which is the whole point of the challenge. You accept your challenge and you work with the rock that you have. So This is one of Anita's little, a very quick close-up of Wendy Casperson's arrow. This artist has been building a relationship with this arrow for a good 5 years, I would say. And in the process, she has also been building a relationship with the Youghiogheny River. Almost all of her material in some way comes from the river. She goes down and forages around the river, in the ruins, and has truly become a mosaic artist by building this 26-foot long arrow. There's another shot of it. We chose to put the wild turkey, also called The Big Deal, by Helga Maribel Sanchez, with the arrow. I think for lots of reasons. It fits perfectly. But those two artists have built a relationship because of how close their art is in the ruins, which I think is really interesting. Coming around to the portrait room, sorry. Mary Driver, Steve-O, those are their portraits you were introduced to last year. And this is our newest Adelaida Roche, Charles Paul Verba portrait, all the way from Russia. I call the turkey a big deal. This is also a big deal. This man was killed in a coal mine. He was raised in Whitsett. I have so much to say about this that I'm not sure I'm going to be able to say any of it. His family will be coming to visit, hopefully, to see this portrait. Spilimbergo trained. The photo and the video do not do the fine craftsmanship justice. Just believe me when I say that when you're standing there in front of him, it's a whole nother story. We'll see a little bit more of him in a minute. Adriana Mufraj with Mariah Noel Mills' portrait on the left there. There's Gila Rayberg with the Master of Horse. Adriana's piece is unfinished still. Adriana, it's still unfinished, but we have made the very exciting decision for Beverly Nicolai to finish it in paint. That's going to be happening within the next month, so we're really excited. And I love this line of sight here where you can see all the different portraits on different walls at the same time.
When you guys, mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he came from Russia. Adelaida built him in Russia, and then he just sat in her studio for a long time because she can't mail things from Russia right now. That's an impossibility. But she was able to get herself physically to Patagonia this year for a symposium, Julia Manassi symposium. Annabella Wooer was there at that symposium. So they passed him off from suitcase to suitcase. Annabella brought him stateside and has been taking care of him until this moment right here where she is installing him. It was actually a very quick installation because he's a very small portrait. So, just stories upon stories. This man never got to have a family. He was killed at the age of 24, I believe. And his family is very interested in what we're doing. Linda Cundiff, who is a ruins artist, has done a full ancestry.com on this family. And my hope is that I can get her and the family sitting right here in chairs beneath the portrait having a conversation. That's something that I would really like to see happen. Thank you to Annabella. And we have another little quick thin set application here. I don't know if you can see the shadows right now from this angle in his eyes, his nose, his face. It's like creating magic with Smalty, truly. This portrait's on another level, all its own. Very proud to have it here. Now let's go to South America. Argentina by Alejandro Martin has just arrived too. This is a brand new installation. I'm kind of in love with it. I'll give you some close-ups. The Smalty is just a meditation in Smalty. That's what this looks like to me. And you know, you every time you look at it, you see a different color pop out at you. Like sometimes you see that yellow, sometimes you see the little red at the tip, sometimes you see the shades of blue. Alejandra is she's doing some really great things. Absolutely follow this one on Instagram. She's prolific right now. We're also very proud to have Argentina here. And as I pan down to the bottom, I think I'm going to give you a close enough shot of a tiny little piece of Millefiori, orange Millefiori, which is where she lives. That's where her place is, right there with that little star, all the way at the tip. And as I pan out, you can see where this country ended up in the map room. Lots of thought went into this. I think it looks nestled perfectly right where it is, with that line of vertical coal going down next to Annabella's East Meets West, and Australia with Marion Shapiro and Caitlin Hepworth. You know, that's another kind of a collaboration. Artists working together. Not everybody can do that. You know, there's a letting go of the ego when you're working with another person or a group of people, you know, on a big picture, whether it's a country. And here's another country right there. I don't know if you recognize India by Purana. I think I have 2 videos of this, so you'll get plenty of time to see it. Purana brought India, and again, in a suitcase this spring, and she brought it in person. It was a wonderful, wonderful event. I got to meet the artist. That doesn't always happen. And then panning to the right, this is up the stairs, and you can see Israel. And that is Edna Segev, the Israeli artist. We'll get a close-up of that too. This is a huge room. The map room is so big. And I tried to pull the eye up by putting Israel up high, because there will be more countries going up high. This is Scotland with Rachel Davies and Helen Miles. Another great relationship building experience. Here's some close-ups of India. She included the bodies of water. The colors are very much India. The colors, the oranges and the greens, the hot colors. And I learned about the chicken neck. There's a part of India that is described as the chicken neck, which is up there towards the right, I think. And now we're going to come over to Israel, I believe. Yes. There is a snaking red, white, and blue line going through the middle of the country, and that is the national trail of Israel, kind of like the Great Allegheny Passage for us. And Edna chose to have that be part of the focal point of that country, which I think is brilliant. You know, it's where a lot of people hike and have adventures. Very recognizable country. Oh my goodness, we're getting to the end. The Wandering Wall. This is a very difficult composition to get on film. I look at it as, let me make sure I have my infrastructure. It's infrastructure. It sets a tone of gravity for this very public bike trail side of the ruins. So the bridge welcomes you in. The wall makes it very clear that there's a formal place that has a boundary. The more our cathedral coal grows, the more crucial it becomes to protect it. The wall is my solution to building a boundary that will also be beautiful, that everyone who passes by it will want to have a picnic next to it, to caress its giant stone tessera like Erica's doing, and its wheeled circles, and someday the art that will be built into its curves and meanderings. I think you could say that it is its own giant example of intuitive andamento. In memory of Steve Gwynn, with a generous donation from his wife and daughter, and a partnership with Rivers of Steel in Pittsburgh, And also another last minute donation, very significant donation by Ruth Foltz of Pittsburgh. We now have the most challenging part of the wall set in the forms of the 9 giant stones. The wheels and the gears and the masonry, bricks and smaller stones will be the next step. Oh, and can you stop right here, Tami? Running out of time. There's some red dog in Erica's hands. There's been a lot of manpower, men with machines for this one. My brother Matthew with the big tractor that could actually pick up and move the stones into place. Our neighbor Jerry with his smaller machine that dug the holes in the ditches. The upper body strength of Blair Barthels, and my own dear Robert with digging bars, shovels, chainsaws, masonry drills. And soon Byron and Kevin will be swooping in to begin the fine tuning of the giant circles. I like how it ended with the red dog, going back to rule number 2 and remembering where the whole thing started. Okay, we can press play again. So the relationships of the ruins are complicated. They're complex. They're layered. After almost 9 years of watching some evolve and others come to an end, I can say with confidence that there is no set recipe for the ingredients that build successful relationships. Some are clearly going to last lifetimes, others just for a season. But I know for sure that the relationships between the artists and the coal miners is one that cannot be broken. We've set it in stone. And, talking about the artists again, I think there is something about the story of coal that resonates with the people who don't come from it. I think it resonates because the miners were underdogs. Their struggles and sacrifices and their thankless work paved the road for the modern world. So that's the end of my formal talking. I have one last little clip that I'm excited to end with, but the wall doesn't really look like a wall yet. It's just a bunch of stones put into the ground. But believe me when I say that the hard part is done and now the fun part comes, and it's going to just be this beautiful mix of heavy geology and light gear, open gears, and eventually mosaic incorporated into it too. That first direction was the bike trail going to Pittsburgh, and this direction is the bike trail going to DC, Washington, DC. And here's the end with our dear little Luce leading us back across the bridge. So again, always imperfect, but I know I'm sure I left some important things out, but that was this year's tour, and thank you for listening.
Rachel, thank you so much. That is quite a presentation, and I love that the footage was slow enough that you could really share so much of the details, and even having the boots as sort of what's here in the center of our screen right now really says a lot, because there is so much magic that you have created. And I know it's created always in a collaboration. Rachel could not do any of this without, as she mentioned, many of the names and the artists and the heavy lifters that have made this possible. But your vision is off the charts. It really is. And I remember, I think it was the first time you spoke about the ruins at one of the SAMA conferences. And I'm like, what is this girl talking about? Like, what does she think? And to be here today, and it's 8 years later or 7 years later, and to see that we get to have this kind of relationship with Mosaic Arts Online, all of your courses you teach, and this huge, beautiful, amazing living museum, as I like to call it, is unbelievable. And I think maybe if there is anyone out there that has some questions, please pop them in the chat now for Rachel, and they'll get to me and I will ask Rachel. And also, I forgot to say at the beginning, if you have not had a chance to tell us where you're from, we always love seeing in the chat where you're from, who's coming in from where. I know a lot of people are all over the country. We are doing this earlier in the morning so that our European friends can make it. Sorry, Australia, we just can't stretch ourselves that far. But hopefully, maybe if you're in Scotland, like Rachel Davies or Helen Miles, or Italy, Ariana, all of our friends all over that continent. It's so good to have you here. And without breaking it up, I know if you are popping some questions in, Jerry will be asking, telling me them to ask Rachel. But we also do have the other exciting news about this live, and that is the launch of Rachel's latest course, which, looking at all the materials that you just saw in the ruins, the gold that's on the boots and the smalti and filati and the mal mischiato that Rachel creates. Rachel just went off for a second, but hopefully she'll be back. Is really, really incredible. The marble, the stone, it's everywhere. So what Rachel did is she created 3 very specific symbols and made them into wooden frames, custom designed by the Sager Mosaics team, and then mosaiced 2 different versions of each of those symbols with these materials that are all represented at the ruins. So again, it's this incredible collaboration. So we now have the spiral, the shell, and the sprocket launched, and we launched it on Friday, but we are offering a very special bonus because you're here, that not only is that course going to be 15% off for the next day and tomorrow till midnight, but all of Rachel's courses will be. So if you are interested in anything Rachel teaches at Mosaic Arts Online, which we know there's countless now. I'm not even going to try and tell you how many courses she has because I can't remember. But we've added this one. She has her updated Intuitive Andamento 1.0. There is so much information and knowledge and talent, experience, everything in these courses. And I can't say enough. So I'm going to put this little coupon up. But if you do have questions, pop them in the chat and we'll definitely ask Rachel them. You need, you have to use the code Rachel15 on any of her courses. It only works for Rachel's courses. So go check out what might interest you. And this includes the new one, the spiral, the shell, and the sprocket. But all of Rachel's courses, 15% off. And Jerry will put that in the chat as well, so that code can stay there. And you have until Monday at midnight to use that code and get that extra special discount. Jerry, is there any questions? So nobody has any questions. Wow, you must have covered it so well. I love that. I love that everyone got really, hopefully, some inspiration. Those boots are unbelievable. Helga just knocked that one out of the park, and the using of the paltia is unbelievable. How she's able to make those sculptures, and then using the coal and the is it slate you said, or shale?
A shale. She might have some slate in there too, but it's mostly shale. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yes, and just how she sculpted them and what they represent is truly such a gift to everyone that gets to visit the ruins. And if you haven't had a chance and you are on the East Coast, I can't recommend it enough. Do you run the tours in the winter time, or do you guys have kind of a season?
Yeah, we do. Not as many, of course, because most people like to have the warm weather. The biggest thing to remember is that you must have an appointment. We are giving about one tour 4 days a week, so it's kind of limited, but we're working on it. Yeah, appointment only. Mm-hmm.
So 2 questions. Do you have any other upcoming projects of the ruins that you can share now?
Well, we're going to be working in just a few weeks on the second circle for the Ven, which would be the coal miners side. I can't tell you. I'm not going to give too much of that away yet, but I think you can probably imagine what we might be using, possibly. I do think that this winter is going to be another group project, big group project. I can't give details on that yet either, but I think I'm going to slow myself down enough and take some time to plan something like that. Not like the quilt project, but something like the quilt project, if that makes sense. It was so popular. It was so much fun. I just have to figure out a different way to do it. Just different, different but similar. We have more portraits coming. I say this every year. The ruins can't be rushed, so I do have some behind the scenes things happening. Let's see if I can remember the trio. There's a trio that I actually wanted to talk about in the tour, but I didn't get to them. Laurie Frazier, Jane Chaskey, and Beth Klinger are working on something as a team together on their own, which is another great relationship building example. And I can't tell you what it is yet, but I'm pretty excited.
Well,
I think that's enough. Yeah. So to give
that
away right now,
sounds
the wall. Yeah, the wall is a very much continuing for the rest. The wall may never be finished. We're just working on that. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but
just like you said, it's so gorgeous just as it is. So whatever else you're going to do to it is only going to enhance it more. But it's just a beautiful addition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those stones are just gorgeous on their own. They really are. So, but it's going to be better. So, yeah.
Someone's asking what the substrate of the boots are. So maybe you can share a tiny bit about what the paltilla is and how it can be sculpted. And we do have a course at Mosaic Arts Online with Maria Sarmiento that teaches how to use the paltilla. So, but maybe you could share a little bit about how Helga created them.
Well, I actually probably can't. I know she built her armatures first, obviously. No, I can't do it. I'm so sorry, Maribel. You're gonna have to do it yourself. I'm trying to think what there's definitely some kind of metal in there, but and I saw them being constructed, in progress, but it's not coming to me. Paltilla is a very mysterious material for me so far, so I'm really looking forward to more artists learning how to use it. The eagle was built from it too, so I know it works, but it's a bit mysterious. So we'll have to revisit that.
Yeah, and it's not an easy thing to just talk about. It's different than concrete, but it's similar. It molds more than concrete can. It's an incredible product. And Paltilla, we have been in contact with them here at Mosaic Arts Online. They love us. We love them. It's a great relationship. It is a product people should be exploring more because it's exterior grade, obviously. Thin Set loves it, so you can really mosaic onto it easily. Lots of artists are using it. And like I said, we have that course there. So one other question is someone's asking, and I know you're always curating the work that is going to be installed at the ruins, but someone's asking if they were contributing something, can they do it on their own time and schedule? But maybe you can share a little bit about how your process really works.
On their own time and schedule, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, once a decision is made and committed to, I'm not a real stickler for timing. I'm not going anywhere. The ruins isn't going anywhere. Wendy has been working on that arrow for 5 years, so that's not a normal thing necessarily. That's not my goal, but yeah. Own studio, own time frame. A lot of things show up much longer later than we expected, especially when you're working with the internationals. The shipping, and during COVID, everything was so different. But I think it's more about building trust into that. That's more important. Once I have to trust someone, they have to trust me. And that doesn't just happen over, necessarily with one conversation. Sometimes it takes more than one conversation. Oh, I know something I can tell you that's behind the scenes that I haven't said anything about yet for a good while. The Squirrel of Possibility by Louise out from Eastern Pennsylvania. It's a big sculpture. Incredible. The texture in it. It's going to be down in the creek bed on one of the big pillars. So I predict that next year's tour, the squirrel will have arrived and will be here. It's a pretty cool piece. Yeah.
Someone is asking, what are the name plaques made of? How did you make those?
Clay. So we roll out clay like pie dough, and fire it in the kiln. Imprint it with the letters and whatever else we need to, and then put it through a high fired bisque fire. I get this question every time, and I never remember the heat that I fire the kiln on. But I defer to Deb Engelbaugh, who has a degree in ceramics, and she tells me what to do, and it's all working out just fine. So that's it's very simple, really. It's just simple clay, simple imprinting with the stamps, and then we thin set it, and then we put a stone. Let's see, Laticrete 310 stone sealer over all the clay. Every year we do that, and that seals the water out, and has been working beautifully too.
So that's really sweet. Yes, and then there's lots of sealing that happens all over the ruins that we've seen Erica doing, as the season is starting to thaw out from the winter and you guys get ready again. Someone is asking if the dove is still living in the hole.
Oh, that's a great question. I love that. She's not here right now. I think she may have already had two, would you call it a clutch of babies, 2 nests, and they've already flown the coop and have moved on. So she was here, but she's now, her babies grew up and flew away.
So maybe there'll be another one. And then, you just did your podcast recently with Annabella Weber, and you talked about a snake was living in East meets West. So you really do get a lot of real wildlife in the ruins on top of the ones that you're creating with mosaic art.
Yeah, absolutely. It happens all the time. I once saw a pileated woodpecker fly right by Helga Maribel's pileated woodpecker mosaic. That was pretty cool. Did not get captured on film, but so it's just in my memory. Yeah.
That is fantastic. Do we have any other questions? One person did ask when the sprockets will be back in stock. So it's good to hear that the frames are flying off the shelves, and Erica was able to answer, I think, that question in our chat. So yes, what?
You asking? Yeah, they're going to be. We're gonna have enough for everybody. We're just gonna keep making them. So if you order it, I'll let you know if it's on back order, because you'll be able to keep ordering all 3: the shell, the spiral, and the sprocket. And we're just gonna keep cutting more, and there'll be enough. So that's the answer to that.
I don't know what your favorite is, but we've got, if you didn't know, they do live here at the MAO HQ, which made me so happy when Rachel gifted this to us, because we've done quite a remodel here in the studio, and they adorn my walls here, and I love them so much. So hopefully, if this is a course that interests you, which is great for a beginner, great for someone that's been making mosaics for quite some time, as I watched Rachel make 6 of them on camera. It's a beautiful experience. It is so gratifying and achievable because it's done. It is literally a project that you could do in a couple days, hang on your wall, give as a gift, whatever. That's my sales pitch. I just love them so much. And so if that's something that's interesting to you, you can get the frames from Sager Mosaics. Like she said, they'll be back in stock very soon. And again, the 15% off for any of her courses. Like I said, it works just for Rachel's courses, but you can always put in our search bar either the type of course you want to learn or one of our instructors' names, and that will bring up what they are teaching here at MAO. So if we don't have any other questions, and Rachel, is there anything else that you would like to share?
Yes. Follow me on Substack.
Yes, there is that. Rachel does have Substack, which is her blog and podcast site, and you can read all of her past blogs and hear the podcasts. How many podcasts are you up to now?
17 or 18.
Wow.
Something like that.
quite an accomplishment on top of everything else that you are doing at the ruins and everything you're planning for the future. I will say that last year you were talking about putting a big pause on the ruins, and I think we've gone completely to the other side of the spectrum. So Rachel just had a quick, like moment, but we're back. So I am so excited.
Just real quick, Tammy, before we go, I really think the writing is part of the reason that I got my mojo back, or whatever you want to call it, where I thought maybe it was over, but the writing on the Substack helps me think better. It's like I'm taking myself to therapy every day when I write, and I get to put it out there to everybody who's reading, and I've been like solving my problems in real time, and it's making me feel like I can keep doing this. So that's what's happening.
It's probably like what they say about, a daily practice of any kind. Like I meditate, people like to journal, things that can kind of just get those juices flowing really can change the output in your life in the real time.
Yep.
So, well, I can't thank you enough for being here, sharing this with us again. I can't wait to see next year, now that this really has become the momentum of an annual event. And thank you to everyone that is here, anyone that sees this later on. This is always going to live on our MAO YouTube channel. And Rachel, thank you. This was really a special day, and I'm so glad we got to share it with everybody.
Thank you, Tammy. And Jerry, thank you.
Yeah, we always got to thank the guy behind the scenes. He's quite a big part of all how this rolls out. It would not work without Jerry. So thank you, everyone.